Hello and welcome into the Dave Campbell's College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Yates. Joining me from beautiful Austin, Texas is senior writer Mike Craven. And Craven, we have Texas college football games tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're taking over.
Yeah, I've joked about this on the show before. My wife knows nothing about college football, wants to know nothing about college football. The one thing she probably could tell you about it is that it's supposed to be a Saturday event. And when I break the news to her that there are games on tonight and on Thursday, and I'm leaving Friday to go to a game in Denton, she's like, I thought this happened on Saturday. And then later in the year, Texas State plays James Madison on a Tuesday night in October. She thinks I'm cheating on her, Carter, because I'm just making up things. Like there's just no in her brain. It's like that has to be a lie. Like, what are you really going to do? College football's not on Tuesday. It is because of TV networks.
In her defense, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around Conference USA Wednesday. A lifelong football fan.
The Tuesday is what gets me. Like when you're telling the truth, but it feels so much like a lie that you almost see and hear yourself saying it as if it wasn't a lie. That's how I feel about that Tuesday game.
It's like, I know this sounds crazy, but Sam Houston is playing on a Wednesday night in a MLS soccer stadium.
Right. I have to go to Houston for a Sam Houston game against UTEP. And she's like, just what are you not telling me?
Like, Mike, we need to sit down, have a talk here.
Yeah.
Hey, look, but we will take all the football we can get. We're sickos over here on this podcast. So this is one of the best weeks of the year. Let's start off with the main event. It's the Red River Rivalry. Red River Rivalry. Texas versus Oklahoma. 2:30 p.m. on ABC. The Longhorns are favored by 2.5 points. And I think the main storyline is John Mateer playing? Pete Thamel just reported John Mateer is pushing to play. He's responded well to surgery, so it's possible. In other words, breaking news, John Mateer wants to play.
Breaking news, competitive quarterback wants to play in a big game.
Mm-hmm.
We do know some coaches who are attached to John Mateer, who know some of that coaching staff in Oklahoma. I've heard some of the same things, that Mateer has done really well post-surgery. He's a tough kid.
It's Dr. Shin, baby.
It's not like they're not going to ask him to throw the ball 40 times a game, right? So as long as he can hold on to the football, maybe he's okay. I don't think that there's a possibility we see a 65, 70 snap John Mateer, like he takes the first snap, last snap type of situation. Wouldn't shock me if you see him occasionally in some packages and stuff, if it's down to a pain tolerance deal that can't get messed up even worse after surgery, or it's just a decoy. Right, and that's what you're supposed to do going into Red River.
Well, we have two now dueling cat and mouse games because Pete Nakos of On3 reports that Parker Livingston might play. He is pushing to play, and it's not the same thing, really. With all respect to Parker Livingston, like John Mateer is a different cat and mouse game than Parker Livingston, the Texas wide receiver.
It is. Neither offense, whether Mateer plays or not, neither offense has an advantage on the other defense, right? Like this is going to be a gross, nasty, in the state fair, low scoring affair. You would imagine, right? Like if I guess I should have looked at the over and under. It's got to be an NFL over under because
look at it.
Neither of these offenses are all that great. Even when Mateer was playing, it's not like the Sooner offense was tremendous.
That's the thing. Like I know John Mateer has some swagger and he is fun to watch, but I feel like he's also overrated. This might come back to just totally bite us when Mateer goes nuclear on Saturday. But again, like his stats aren't insane, and I get a lot of it's the eyeball test. And yes, the quarterback play was bad last year at Oklahoma. So I love him. I love John Mateer as a player. He's got swagger, but I also think he's kind of overrated.
I think he's more fun than great.
Yes.
But fun's enough. Especially with that Oklahoma defense. Like we talk, we're Texas centric, obviously. So we talk about the UT defense and what it can be and how it's one of the best units in the country. Oklahoma right there. Max Olson puts out his stop rate. Not a huge stat guy, as you know, Carter, but I do like that one because it's pretty clear cut like what it is. How often do you stop a team and keep them from scoring? Like I can dig that. And Oklahoma and Texas are right there. I think top like 6 or 7. of that. And so to me, this one comes down to what most Red River games come down to. And it's like, can either of these offense figure out a run game? And if you can figure out some semblance of a run game, maybe you got a chance to score some points. I just think that's what neither of these teams do. And maybe Mateer getting to play 15, 20 snaps could be the difference in establishing a little bit of that.
Over under is 42.5. That is kind of an NFL spread. I have zero confidence Texas can figure out the run game right now. CJ Baxter is injured. Trey Wisner, I think we even knew last year with Trey Wisner when he had that 1,000-yard season that he's good, not a Bijan Robinson type running back. And Texas almost needs a Bijan Robinson type running back to get yards behind this offensive line as it stands right now.
I guess on a larger scale, that's kind of my issue with Texas at this moment is they don't have those kind of guys. And obviously you're not going to have many Bijan Robinsons. Like he's an elite player, maybe the best offense player in the NFL right now. He's incredible. But you don't look around the Texas offense and go, dude. And there's like some okay players. And nobody's emerged. They've recruited really well. They have a lot of stars behind their names. Like they have great profiles and they look like great players. And maybe they one day become it, a couple of these guys. But Ryan Wingo hasn't emerged as one of those kind of big time number one wide receivers on a play in, play out basis. You don't see the pass rush. They do not have a sack in the 2 games against Power 4 opponents. And so, Malik Muhammad didn't play last week, and that's one of their guys. That's one of their actual dudes. And so this is a Texas team that I guess in the Red River games, it typically comes down to like a few guys just going and making plays. And I'm just not sure who Texas brings to the table in terms of offensive weapons that can go make plays.
Well, the offense is fundamentally broken right now, which honestly, we kind of talked about last year. It seemed a little fundamentally broken too. And I'll get to the larger Steve Sarkisian conversation in a bit here, but just judging from some stats. So this is from CJ Vogel. He does great work at Inside Texas. Texas has faced more 3rd and 9 pluses than 3rd and 4 or less. And that's partially because no running back has had a rush over 18 yards this season. And that's also why does no running back have a rush over 18 yards? Well, maybe it's because Florida had a 60% pressure rate last week against Texas without blitzing once. They had 34 pressures coming into the game and 36 against Texas alone. Insane stat. And then, oh, by the way, because there is no run game, because they're in 3rd and 9 all the time, Arch Manning's deep ball rate is higher than any Texas QB Sark has coached.
Yeah, it's a big time mismatch for the Oklahoma defense. You speak of pressure rate. Texas is 125th in pressure rate. They give it up 41% of the time. Arch Manning's seeing pressure. Oklahoma's 3rd in creating pressure rate. Right? So like the weakness of the Texas offense right now, which there are a few, but the weakness of the Texas offense right now, like the core problem, the actual disease of the offense is along the offensive line. Like that if you're a doctor, that's the one you're treating first when this patient comes into the ER. Oklahoma's strength is their defensive line. They got some, like we were talking about, where are the dudes for Texas? Well, for Oklahoma, they're all on the defensive line. Like they are some guys down there. And so Steve Sarkisian makes $10 million a year. This is where you earn it. You're the offensive wizard guy. That's your rep. Is creating offense, creating quarterbacks, scoring points. Well, your offense needs you now. Like you're going to have to scheme this up. Like you're going to have to go win these matchups for these players, put them in positions to be successful, keep them out of positions that aren't going to be successful. And so this is a big week for Steve Sarkisian and his marker.
Yeah,
he's got to draw it up.
You know what, Craven? If you had 135 other teams play Ohio State and Florida and Oklahoma, 135 other teams would probably lose those games too. So be too hard on Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, that's a very Tom Herman. It's tough to win. Where I get the point. Kirby Smart.
That's worse than it's tough to win. That quote is worse than it's tough to win because 135 of the other programs don't have the resources and the roster that you do.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You know how Mike Elko was clearly listening to Brian Kelly when he went after us at the A&M game for being a little too gloomy. Steve Sarkisian was listening to Kirby Smart. Because do you remember after the Alabama game, they asked Kirby, I think he's like 1-10 against Alabama, something bad like that, right? And he goes, well, what's everybody else's record against Alabama? And so, yeah, going on the road to Ohio State is tough. Going on the road against Florida is tough. Playing against Oklahoma is tough. But that's what you get. That's what the money is for. That's what the resources are for. You're Texas. You're the head coach. You're the offensive coordinator. You're the play caller. This is why you have the job. Brent Venables, his side of the ball is good. And this is Steve Sarkisian versus Brent Venables this week. And Venables has better chess pieces. And so Sark's got to go win this one.
Sark is 2-8 versus the top 10 teams at Texas and 5-18 versus the top 10 teams of all time. Is Sark not getting enough criticism this year?
I think if they lose to Oklahoma, he'll start.
Like this is the tipping point. If he gets pantsed by Venables, then it'll be like, okay, it's time for a conversation here.
I might write this column for later in this week. I think this is the biggest regular season game for Steve Sarkisian as a head coach. Like, you can't argue it's bigger than a semifinal. You know, if you win that game, you go to the national championship. I'm not insane. But going on the road and beating Alabama was nice. That was a big game. It ended up being a turning point, a fulcrum moment for this program, especially if you ask the players behind the scenes. But it wasn't like they needed to go win that football game. For this season, especially, they need to go win this football game. Like, if they lose this one, it's toast in terms of college football playoff, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't see how you can think this team is going to win 6 straight, including at Georgia and against A&M, if they go and they lose against an Oklahoma team that at best has its quarterback really dinged up. And so I guess, to me, to save this momentum, to keep the season alive, to keep the noise off the back, as you mentioned with those stats, to like keep that from being a talking point, Texas goes and wins this football game, and it's okay. They got a shot. Things are turning in the right direction. They go and lose this football game, and they're 500 after 6 with the schedule we just talked about still remaining in front of them. I think the noise, I think those stats, I think that heat you mentioned, it won't be James Franklin level, but it'll start for sure.
I mean, they're the first team, not the first team to go from preseason unranked, preseason number 1 to preseason unranked, but they did it in 5 weeks, which is a wet record. The last time it happened was 2012 USC, and they did it in 12 weeks. And that was seen as an epic collapse. So this is record setting in a bad way.
Yeah. And, we've seen Oklahoma teams win this type of game as the Texas, where like everything was going bad for Oklahoma. It looked like Texas was the better team. Oklahoma figures out a way to go in there, muck it up, and win. Like, Texas needs to win one of those kind of Bob Stoops games against the Longhorns here. Because I don't think that they're the better team. Maybe the backup quarterback makes that even if Hawkins can't make any plays and Mateer doesn't go at all. But I don't know. How do you think Texas wins this game? Just turnover? Like, they have to win turnover margin, figure out a few big plays, maybe special teams makes a play. Like, it doesn't seem like straight up Texas walks into the Cotton Bowl and beats this Oklahoma team.
If you had asked me 2 weeks ago about what your concern level in this game is, I would say I think Arch cannot handle the moment in Red River, and I think he's going to hold them back. And now I think it's the opposite. Like, I feel good about Arch going into Red River, and I feel bad about the rest of the offense. And I don't know if I'm insane for thinking that way.
The team with the worst offensive line typically loses in this game.
Yeah. And Texas' offensive line is not great.
It's bad. It's at least been playing bad. I think it's got a lot of individually talented pieces, but it hasn't been playing well.
I'm going to take Texas to win this game, though. Like, I can't really give you a reason why I think they're going to win. I just think their backs are against the wall. They know they have to win out. It's the Oklahoma game. Sark knows how important this one is for his tenure. And I think the Florida game was a wake-up call of, oh shit, we have no margin for error. And we have to run the table. Like if they had barely beat Florida, I feel bad about this game for Texas. But them losing that Florida game makes me think, oh, it's for real now, and they have to win this game. Is that dumb? Does that make any sense?
No, I mean, I think it's why Georgia won at Austin in Austin last year. Right?
Yeah.
It was that same type of principle. I can't get over the advantage I believe Oklahoma has in the trenches, and so I took Oklahoma plus 3.5 when it first came out. But this is a rivalry game in the Cotton Bowl. Like I've been to a lot of them. I've seen the worst team win a lot, and so
yeah.
I mean, anything can happen here.
Well, that's what makes Red River so special. Is it's the best athletes that Southwest has to offer, and they all go onto one field and lose their minds for 60 minutes.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's my favorite weekend of the year, honestly.
Yeah, I think I'm no bias here at all, but I think it's the best rivalry in college football.
Yeah, I don't even care about the game. Like the game, like the outcome of the game, I guess is what I mean. But like the atmosphere of it, the split down the 50s, the corn dogs outside, the fair going on. I love the 2:30 kickoff because you get a little bit of like the sun setting night feel, and then you get some of the state fair at night when you walk out. And at the 11 o'clock kick, I guess I was always out of there by 5, 6 o'clock at the latest. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I just don't think it's going to be the prettiest game in the world. But I wouldn't be surprised if Texas pulled it out. I just think Oklahoma is so much better up front, and that's hard to ignore.
There is a scenario where John Mateer is rushed back and he's not ready and he's just a shell of himself. And that's how Texas wins this game.
Yeah, I don't think Oklahoma blows out Texas. I don't think either offense is capable of scoring enough points against the other defense to blow each other out. So it's going to be a close one, I think. I think this is going to be, 17-14 in the fourth quarter type of deal. I just don't know how Texas moves the ball consistently enough with that offensive line against this defensive line. With Britt Venerables, who I think is probably top 3, just pure defensive play caller, coordinator, coach in the country.
Mm-hmm. What state fair food are you most excited to eat?
I think I am a traditionalist in a lot of ways in my life, and state fair is no different. I'm a corn dog and Dr. Pepper before, because I'm not a drinker and I'm working, I guess. But I'm not a drinker because that used to not stop me. I'm joking. Corn dog and Dr. Pepper before the game. I grab a funnel cake on the way out, and then hit the road back to Austin.
Yeah, the funnel. I like the corn dog. The funnel cake. You ever have a food where you ate and then got sick the next day, completely unrelated, but you can't eat that food anymore?
100%.
That's funnel cake for me.
Yeah.
Had it 4th grade at the choir, the Frisco Town Square, before I absolutely just murdered my 4th grade choir, Frosty the Snowman. Like my parents were in the crowd wondering, what is that sound? Something sounds way off. And then they noticed the mic was next to my face. And then I woke up the next day. My uvula was swelled up from strep throat, and it was I just associate that with funnel cake, so I can't have funnel cake anymore.
I'm also a funnel cake traditionalist. They sell all these BS funnel cakes with all these toppings and the fruit and all this kind of stuff. It's funnel cake. It's powdered sugar. You move on with your day. If you don't like that, go get something different.
Mm-hmm. So the night before, you're going to be in Red River. You'll be at the fair. The night before, you'll be in Denton with North Texas hosting number 24 USF. This is a Friday night 6:30 game. It's on ESPN. It's prime time. USF is favored by 1.5. And Craven, you wrote a column on TexasFootball.com about how UNT has a program-changing opportunity. Explain that. Yeah,
I don't think you need to remind North Texas fans how bleak the existence of a G5 fan can be. They were on top of the world with Mason Fine winning 9 games back-to-back years, and North Texas was poised to kind of be a breakout G5 program that could really kind of punch their weight. They got those turbines in the front up there. Like they got an indoor facility, like all the stuff that the other G5 programs like are really jealous of. They have the resources there on a relative scale. And then it just kind of, like it was just 500 after that. And they get rid of Seth Luttrell thinking that they can do more than just be in the Conference USA championship game and go 500 and get into bowls. Like they wanted to aim higher than that. And they have. And Eric Morris through the first couple of years was, about 500, but you could see it bubbling just with the way that they score points, how close they were against the Memphises and the Tulanes and the UTSAs. Like they were right there from a breakout. They just needed a competent complement to that offense, and they've gotten it this year. North Texas has always struggled with fans. Like we have multiple North Texas grads in the office, and they'll talk about kind of the obstacles it is to get fans in the stands at North Texas, which is kind of a liberal arts school. Denton's not exactly in Dallas. There's a lot going on, but there's going to be a ton of people there at this game. There's going to be 25,000 plus. It might get to a sellout. And if you can go win this football game or like lose it 40-37 or something, like give the fans a show before, during, and after, how many of those fans come back for UTSA in a couple of weeks? Or how many of those fans that come give a little bit extra into the NIL or rev share? Like you can start building some real momentum and have a breakthrough game. And it's on national TV. It's the biggest G5 game of the year. There's college football stakes involved in this. There's going to be a lot of media there. And again, I'm not talking about myself, like people with like big platforms that are writing, for the Athletic and like they're going to be there. And it's an opportunity to kind of be the darling, to kind of be the team that's kind of getting the buzz going into week 8 and beyond with a favorable schedule. It feels like one of those times where you don't get very often, where you can go seize an opportunity and go win a big game in front of a big crowd and become relevant with a lot of people that they want to become relevant with. And so they can't lay an egg. Like they need to go play well in this football game.
And I know the athletic director, Jared Mosley, sees this too, because we have talked about the lackluster fan attendance, but I mean, shout out to the UNT administration for the promotions they're doing this game. Brett Vito laid this out on Twitter X. They're doing a t-shirt giveaway, a food truck, an iPhone and Nintendo Switch giveaways. You can claim like more season tickets there. I don't know. They're doing like have this many season tickets, get this amount more free. It's basically a carnival going on outside of Dat Koo Stadium.
Yeah. And it needs to, this team deserves that kind of attention. Once again, they're a top 10 scoring offense, so it's fun. And they're not the greatest defense in the world, but they get turnovers. They're, I think, 2 behind the nation's leader in terms. They've turned the ball over 11 times.
11 times. Well, hold on. North Texas is 42nd in the nation in scoring defense, which is basically a Bill Parcells level coaching job.
Right. 100%. So it's like, it's not a boring team either. You can't be like, well, they're 5-0, but they're not fun to watch. Like they're one of the more fun. Like if you were to like grade, I think Baylor is probably the most fun team to watch just because they play in so many weird games. But North Texas has been in overtime twice on the road in one game. It's like it's an exciting brand of football. They're going to go score points. The defense is aggressive. South Florida, kind of the same way. They haven't been great down to down offensively, but they make big plays. They have explosive plays. That offense, is an old Art Briles type veer and shoot type offense that also can get vertical. And so, like, this is a game between 2 of the 5 best G5 teams in the country this year. The winner has an inside track towards the American Conference champion. And I think unless like Old Dominion or James Madison wins out, the champion, the college football playoff team is coming from the American. I guess UNLV is up there as well. But this feels like a huge game with a really fun teams. Like it doesn't get better than this.
Like if you can't get up for this, you just don't like football.
Right. Like, well, and as a North Texas, like I remember I would argue with the North Texas fan base at the end of the Seth Luttrell era. And not because I didn't think North Texas couldn't be better than they were, but it was this feeling of like we deserve to be better than we are. And it's like, well, where are y'all? Because it's not like you're showing up in mass and you're having like, but the talking point back then was, well, they haven't given us anything to show up for. It's been 4 years. We're a 500 team. We haven't finished over 500. We just go to bowl games. Like we're not any good. Why would we show up to that? If we win, we'll be there. Well, you're winning. And it's a Friday night game. I think a lot of the local high schools are on a bye. And so it's going to be a big crowd and you can build some real momentum as the weather's turning and getting better. Like if you go win this football game, you're going to have another 20,000 plus for UTSA. And if you win that football game, you're going to have another 20,000 plus for Navy when they come to town. If you win that, like it can just kind of build on itself and it starts Friday night.
Yeah. Also, it's an underrated storyline to me is this coaching matchup between Alex Golish and Eric Morris. Two guys are going to be coaching Power 4 football soon, potentially. So it's kind of like future offensive minds of CFB.
Yeah, and I don't, Parker Fleming, Stats of War on Twitter, the CFB graphs, again, not the biggest analytical. I couldn't tell you what most of these numbers mean.
I do like the how bad did you win or how bad did you lose graphics.
Yeah, I
enjoy my
them.
simpleton brain. That's very nice.
I look at them. I try to take whatever I can from them because more information is better. I'm just more of an eyes and vibes guy. But anyway,
same.
On the CFB advanced stats for this game, they have North Texas with a 71% probability of winning with a projected score of 34.5 to 22.3. They think North Texas is going to blow this team out.
Okay.
Which I found pretty fascinating.
You should hammer UNT plus 1.5 then.
I think it's just North Texas has been consistently better, where South Florida is just like some drives they go 80 yards. Sometimes they look like they are not supposed to be on a football field. Like it's a very boom or bust kind of offense right now. And I'd imagine in the numbers that the North Texas down-to-down consistency is more. What I like about North Texas to win this football game is Caleb Hawkins and that run, that run attack. Like I think both pass offenses can be explosive. There's good wide receivers there. Defenses can be opportunistic. To me, the advantage here for North Texas is in the run game. It's with Caleb Hawkins in that run game. And if they can be balanced offensively with that home crowd, they create a turnover or two, which they've done all season long. I like the mean green here, I think.
Ooh, yeah, I'm trying to think who I pick. It is interesting because I feels like Texas and North Texas both have their most important games of the season this week, and important games for the tenure of their head coach too. So it's just like huge narrative bulls. I'm going to go North Texas too. Let's ride. Let's show out Dead in America, and let's put North Texas on the map and put them in the AP Top 25 poll for the first time since 1959. That's what's at stake.
They would absolutely be ranked like 23rd, 24th if they win this football game, which would be awesome.
Yeah, and then they might have a better chance at the college football playoff than Texas.
Yeah, if we're ranking teams with college football chances, I think I go Texas Tech 1 because of the Big 12 gap, Texas A&M 2 just because the SEC is going to get 6 teams in there, and then 3. I think I'd pick North Texas.
Yeah, imagine if we have 3 Texas teams in the college football playoff, and one of them is not Texas or SMU. Unbelievable. Yeah. I know I'm looking way too far ahead, but it's funny to play out in your mind. Let's talk about the Aggies. Number 5, Texas A&M takes on Florida, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Aggies are favored by 7.5. Does Torian York hate DJ Lagway? Have you seen this on Twitter X from last year's game? What's going on here?
They played against each other.
Okay.
In high school, and Lagway is the 5-star Gatorade, Mr. Texas, all that stuff. And Torian York is the type of guy who got told he was too chubby to play linebacker at a UTSA camp, and he was wearing like the number 565 or something like that, and started doing 565 sit-ups every single day a year. He's just an insane person. I say that in like the most complimentary way. He's just an insane person who tries to find like a little bit, like I took that personal, like that is Torian York. He is a throwback. He is Jordan and Tom Brady and all that, like that in terms of like his mentality and how he attacks this thing. And so I think the Lagway stuff is just him feeling like he was the best player on the football field back when he was at Temple, and him still thinking he's the best player on the football field now that he's at A&M. And he's not wrong.
No, he's not. The way he's been playing the last couple of weeks, I mean, he just might be. This is an interesting game because on the one hand, I don't think Florida's that good. And I think Texas A&M is going to wax Florida after the public is back on Florida's side after beating Texas. But also, Florida kind of turns into the best team ever when Billy Napier is fired. Like when he's pre-fired and it's one more loss and he's gone, they are unstoppable. And that's where they are right now.
Yeah. What I'm curious here in this game is how Texas A&M's offense attacks Florida. Because Florida's defense, even when they lost by 10 to LSU, the offense turned the ball over 5 times and they still only held LSU to like 20 points or something like that. Like I think it's fair to say the Florida defense is pretty good. They got some guys up front. They can get after it. A&M's offensive line, night and day different than Texas. That's one of the biggest differences between the Longhorns and the Aggies right now. A&M's offensive line is the top graded unit in the country. Like they may win the Joe Moore Award. Really good football team up front. Do we continue to see this transformation from 50-50 balanced attack, a little bit more throw heavy early in the season to we're running the ball 65% of the time in SEC play? What does the game plan look like? Because I think if we see it for a third time, that's just who A&M is, and we can stop having this conversation. It feels like the best way to attack Florida, though, is in the passing game if you can block them up. And I think A&M's got a chance to block them up. Maybe this is a game that Craver and Concepcion can make a big impact.
Yeah, with the run game, Ruben Owens had a career high last week, but also I'm seeing Le'Veon Moss is battling in-game stomach issues over the last 2 years, and this is a storyline I didn't know about, but I was wondering why Le'Veon Moss didn't play last week hardly, and I think it's because in the first half of these games, he's kind of puking on the sideline and stuff like that. So I guess something to monitor. Elko's not saying anything about it. Look, I don't know if it's like nerves or just conditioning from being hurt last year. When I played, I was a pregame puker, and then I'd go puke on the field too, not literally, but in my style of play. But yeah, something to monitor.
Yeah, it is. And they've talked about it a few times, not in detail, but I think it's because they don't know a ton about it. I think they're trying to figure out kind of why it's happening, what the root causes is, what they can do to mitigate it a little bit. Ruben Owens emerging was big. Florida has struggled with the quarterback run game, whether designed or scramble. And so maybe this is a week where we see Marcel Reed 2024 a little bit more. That's kind of the last wrinkle we haven't seen from this Aggie team very often is Marcel Reed design run game. And some of that's you're trying to keep him healthy. But maybe this is a game where you see his legs a little bit more. I think the A&M defense matches up fine with Florida. I mean, you got to look out for Dallas Wilson and stop the run game, but I'm starting to kind of grow into this Wrecking Crew defense is just good.
I think they're going to have DJ Lagway in hell this week. I think DJ Lagway last week, Texas did not have a good game plan. They did not play well. We're starting to say, oh, DJ Lagway, hey, watch out. And I think he is a former 5-star. He's very talented, but I think this is going to be back to early season DJ Lagway.
And Florida's got some guys. That running back's pretty good. That went for 127 against Texas. Dallas Wilson, the freshman, was incredible. And so they got some guys that can be game breakers that can go make plays. I just don't think from a down-to-down situation, Florida could threaten A&M. And so unless the defense completely shuts the Aggies down, I think A&M is able to score enough points at home to win this football game.
Well, Auburn coach Hugh Freeze said the A&M game was one of the worst experiences of his coaching career offensively. So that's what it's like at Kyle Field playing this A&M defense.
Yeah, I think they match up well with what Florida wants to do. The only concern you have is turnovers and Florida just having some elite players that can go make some plays.
All right, I got A&M big in this one. What about you?
I think I have A&M by double digits as well. Maybe not the prettiest game. I think it looks a lot like Mississippi State maybe, where it's not a big score early on and A&M just kind of slowly walks away from it.
Yeah, I got A&M 26-10 or something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah. All
right, let's go to the G5 ranks again. This game is so intriguing to me. Rice at UTSA, 6:30 p.m. on ESPNU. UTSA is favored by 11.5, and buddy, I'm taking Rice in that one. The spread, that is way too big. If UTSA loses this game, this fan base is going to go batshit. It's already teetering, and if this game drops, oh boy.
I think it's important to remember there's a big swath of the UTSA fan base that's never suffered a losing season as fans.
Yeah.
If you've only been paying attention since the pandemic or since Jeff Traylor got there, you've never seen it bad. You've seen it average, but you've never seen it bad. And so it's just like when you're on the seesaw and you're at the top, if you level off, you think you fell. And I think that's where the Roadrunners are right now. It hasn't been great, though. There's no denying that. You shouldn't be losing on the road to Temple and a first-year head coach who's just kind of put together a roster. My concerns are in the passing game. We talk a lot about Arch Manning in the passing game, and but it's like, what are the explanations for UTSA not being good at passing the football this year? Owen McCown's taking a step back. Owen McCown's injured. The scheme, right? Like what? I mean, there's not many options for it to be. I mean, they brought back most everybody, and they've gotten worse through the air. Like this wasn't a projection. He threw the ball for 3,400 yards last year and a 25-10 touchdown to interception ratio. Like
he won them most of their games last year.
We've seen it. So if it's not something with McCown in terms of physicality, mentality, whatever, then the only thing you can point to is just the offense itself. And it's just not very creative. It hasn't been all that explosive. And they just shoot themselves in the foot. Like it's just not a clean, disciplined football team in a way in which they used to. Like the ways UTSA loses now are the inverse in the ways in which UTSA used to win. And I'm not there every day. I'd make millions of dollars as a coach if I knew how to do it. But like, I don't think it takes a brain surgeon to just identify the fact that like UTSA used to do the small things well. UTSA no longer does the small things well. Yep. Until that's changed, you're going to lose these games because it was never that big of a gap. UTSA was never that much better than all these teams that they were beating. They were just winning the coin flips. And it doesn't take much to lose those coin flips. Ask Texas State on the road, right? Like ask UTSA the last couple of years, like it can turn very quickly. And all it is 3 or 4 penalties or a couple missed tackles or a bad drive or whatever. And right now it just seems like UTSA is their own worst enemy, especially on the road in these games that they're supposed to win. It was Tulsa and Rice last year. It was Temple this year. I guess if you're the Roadrunners, the thing you feel good about is this one's back at home. You're typically a good home team. Let's see if they can bounce back.
I want to be careful what I say here because I legit think Jeff Traylor is a really good coach. I think he could go over in his next 5 years, and I would still say like that's a Hall of Fame coach, Texas high school football Hall of Fame coach. He's proven he can win at college too. But some of these metrics for UTSA are the marks of a poorly coached, not fundamentally sound football team. Being outscored in the second half, 72-104 on the season, means you're getting out adjusted in the locker room. 97th in the nation in penalty yards per game with 63 and 63.4 penalty yards per game. Means you're undisciplined. Like those are the things like you're mentioning that have my eyebrows raised and have my concern up.
And then on the Rice side, and it's kind of free money for you, right? It's year one. You've already won 3 games. You've gone on the road and beat Louisiana. The UTSA isn't very good. You're a double-digit favorite, even though a lot of these guys on this team at Rice beat this Roadrunner team at home last year. I think you like the way the Rice defense matches up against the UTSA offense. It's going to come down to if they can stop Robert Henry or not. But I like, Awe and Ty Morris. Like they have good linebackers. They have a pretty solid defensive line, especially against the run. Rice's secondary is always kind of a concern, but it doesn't seem like UTSA can test that all that much. So we'll see what that is. What I've found interesting about the Rice offense so far as you dig into the numbers is it's all by design right now. They are 49th in yards before contact and 120th in yards after contact. And so they're just not creating big plays in the run game on their own. It's either there or it's not. And that's just, to me, that makes sense, right? Like that's the sign of a team that hasn't recruited to this scheme, hasn't played in this scheme a ton. So I just think they're limited offensively. And so I get why the line is what it is, and you would expect the Roadrunners to be able to score enough points to deal with this one. Okay. But UTSA has struggled against option teams in the past. Like they've only lost to one team at home twice in the Jeff Traylor era, and it's Army. And so we'll see what Rice is able to do. And honestly, Army's success a lot of times against UTSA has been through the air. And so for the Roadrunners, it's going to not allow those kind of pop pass stuff to really burn them.
I might take Rice to win outright. Like I'm taking them to cover for sure, but
can I be your bookie?
So you're taking UTSA here.
Yeah, I just don't think Rice can score enough.
Okay, that's fair. I just can see
if this was at Rice. Yeah,
I'm just picturing a college football fan watching, Saturday Night Football, and you're locked into some other games, and then on the bottom ticker, that UTSA Rice game comes up, and it's in the third quarter, and Rice is up like 16-10, and you go, "Oh man!"
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me for sure. That wouldn't shock me at all.
All right, so I think this is the only one we really differ on. Is I think I'm going to pick Rice. Are you going to pick Rice to cover, not win?
No, I think I'm taking UTSA. I think we see a good version of UTSA this week. Because if not this week, when everybody's telling you to fire everybody and that the quarterback needs to be benched and all, it's kind of like if you don't get a good performance this week, you're just not going to get it. This feels like the Memphis game last year, where like everybody's burying UTSA and then all of a sudden they like start a run. I'm not sure that they can start a run, but I think they can beat Rice by 2 touchdowns.
Oh, you're kind of convincing me to go UTSA now. I got to stay strong, though. Yeah, that is right, because Jeff Traylor's press conferences this week is basically like, I'm not benching my quarterback. I'm not firing my offensive coordinator. Like, I'm not firing people. Yep. UTSA fans are calling for heads right now.
Yep.
Okay, let's go lightning round through some of these last games here. Starting the Big 12, TCU at Kansas State, 2:30 p.m. on Fox. TCU favored by 1.5. At first, I was confused about that line because it's at Bill Snyder Stadium. That is a good home atmosphere. It feels like Kansas State has a little bit of they have an awesome dual threat quarterback who they're trying to make a one threat quarterback, because Sonny Dykes says, hey, Avery Johnson is the best dual threat QB we've faced. And Chris Kleiman is in his press conference saying, we're not going to try to run Avery Johnson 15 times a game.
Yeah, I give the advantage to Andy Avalos over Matt Wells here in terms of defensive coordinator versus offensive coordinator. Josh Hoover, obviously really, really good. Can TCU avoid the dumb mistakes that cost them at Arizona State? They could not run the ball. That put it all on Josh Hoover. And it makes the offensive line just be in pass pro. And then you can blitz, you can do exotic stuff, you can do twists, you can do stunts, you can pin your ears back. Every offensive lineman in the world will tell you it's harder to pass block when they know you're passing every single down. And so to me, this comes down to can TCU take care of the football? Can they establish any type of the run game? We saw Kavorian Barnes come back last week and run the ball. Maybe he's a little bit healthier each week and they get some of that run game going. Baylor had some success running the ball against Kansas State last week. But if TCU can avoid the penalties, can avoid the turnovers, and can be efficient in the red zone, they are a double-digit point better than this Kansas State team.
It's not the Kansas State we've come to know. Just like they're having a down year. I believe they're 2-4 right now. They are the cursed Ireland team, the team that goes to play week 0 in Ireland and loses. Like they are this year's Florida State.
Yeah, they are.
So, yeah. But also, like you saw last week against Baylor, they're frisky. Mm-hmm. The Wildcats are frisky. They got claws.
And Baylor allowed them to hang around in that game. Baylor had some red zone and turnovers. Well, they didn't count as red zone turnovers. They were on the 23 or the 25, but they were basically red zone turnovers, right? And that's the only way Kansas State, in my opinion, can stay in this football game, unless Avery Johnson just goes nuts. But to your point, Matt Wells isn't going to allow Avery Johnson to go nuts. And so if you're TCU, I think defensively you can hang with this Kansas State offense pretty good. You just, don't have one of those Josh Hoover 2 interception games because he has to throw the ball 50 times. I think you're okay.
This is a sidebar, but that is one of the most aggravating things for me when I watch colleges get these dual threat quarterbacks that are high 4-star, 5-star guys that are best when they have the rushing threat as well as the passing threat. And then they're like, no, actually, we just want to make this guy a pocket passer. Why? So he doesn't get injured, but that's also how he plays his best football. And you're 2-4. What do you have to lose right now?
Yeah, these guys are very smart, Carter. Don't forget it.
Sorry.
Nice guy.
All right. Houston at Oklahoma State, 11 a.m. on TNT or HBO Max. Houston favored by 14.5. Oklahoma State's dead. I don't have much more here.
Yeah, Connor
Wigman's back.
Yeah, Connor Wigman in concussion protocol as expected. Sounds like he's aiming towards being back. We're recording this Tuesday afternoon. The last I've heard, they expect him to play Saturday unless something kind of goes differently. I don't know if they need him. I think what Zion Chris does offensively can work against Oklahoma State. This is a culture game for the Cougars. This is one of those where you can't let one loss become two when you go on the road. We saw it with Penn State losing to Oregon. Then they go on the road against a UCLA team they're 4 touchdown favorites against, and they lose because their culture stinks. If you're Willie Fritz, you're using that example this week. Oklahoma State's playing for jobs. Right? Like if you're an Oklahoma State player, you're playing for portal opportunities. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're an Oklahoma State coach, you're playing for some job offers. And so there is some motivation there for the Cowboys to like go ball out. They can let it all hang. And so I think if you're Houston, this is just one of those, put your helmet back on, get your head straight, look forward. The Texas Tech game happened. You kind of march forward. And I think they can.
Okay, going to the ACC, classic ACC matchup, SMU versus Stanford, 11 a.m. on the CW. Mustangs are favored by 19.5. Again, not too much for this game. I mean, Stanford they beat San Jose State by 1 last week. A massive rebuild. Frank Reich, the head coach, is there on a 1-year type deal for Andrew Luck, who's the athletic director. I don't have much.
Yeah, I mean, I think your only worry if you're SMU is the look-ahead situation. You know, they're at Clemson next week, and so
hold on. By the way, SMU Clemson is at 2:30 p.m. on the ACC network. Who would have thought that?
That's true, but it's still a big game for SMU,
of course,
right? And so, I think that's the only worry here. I think even if you kind of look ahead, you probably still handle the Stanford team pretty good. I'd imagine it's a big game from Kevin Jennings and offense. Again, it looks a lot like the Syracuse game did a week before.
All right, now for the game we have tonight. Actually, no. Yeah. Let's start with UTEP. Then we'll go Texas State. I accidentally skipped Texas State on my sheet. Let's go with the game we have tonight. UTEP versus Liberty, 7 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. Liberty's favored by 1.5. Similar deal with Kansas State. This is not the Liberty you've known. They're 1-4. It's a 1-4 versus 1-4 matchup. Massive game for UTEP.
Yeah, it does feel like a massive game for UTEP. Both of these offenses kind of stink. Maybe not kind of, just stink.
Malachi Nelson has thrown 6 interceptions since his last touchdown pass. Not great.
Yeah. Liberty ranks 118th in offensive EPA margin. UTEP is 133rd. So just neither one of these offenses is very good. Malachi Nelson, when he hasn't turned the ball over, I know this is a dumb statement because he turns the ball over, but when he hasn't turned the ball over, it's looked okay. I guess my main curiosity in this game is one, it feels like a big one for UTEP. Maybe you can steal this one against a program that, over the offseason, you assume this is one you're going to be a heavy underdog in, and you got a chance to beat kind of a hapless Liberty team at home. But there's going to be nobody there in the Sun Belt on a Wednesday afternoon. This is like a bring your own juice situation for both teams. And if you use UTEP, maybe you can just strike gold. I mean, I think you have the upside offensively. The defense has been there. Maybe they catch a Liberty team that doesn't seem like they care this year, and they're probably not going to care on a Wednesday night on the road.
Yeah, Jamie Chadwell, the Liberty coach, feels like he was a hot name for Power 4 jobs and might have just stayed in G5 a little bit too long.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time. Just like the G5 guy missing him. It happened to Luttrell. We were talking to Luttrell earlier. He could have been the Kansas State's coach, and then now he's not. And so, yeah, I think I like UTEP's defense. This is one of those like go steal you a football game situations here. We were talking about the Parker's graphs earlier. He has UTEP as a favorite in this game at home, so they got a shot.
They are having a brutal year with injuries, so I know it's been tough for Scotty Walden, but Cam Thomas, the minor back, is out for the year. He was supposed to be like your second best offensive weapon. Linebackers Joshua Rudolph and Garrett Hawkins are both out for the year. Kenny Odom's been out. He's your best offensive weapon, your wide receiver. Still disappointing second year right now for Scotty Walden, even with the injuries, but you can turn it around tonight.
Yeah, because you can still make your way towards a bowl if you win this game. Because you're at Sam Houston the week after that. You feel like you can probably go win that one. You still have Missouri State, New Mexico State on the schedule. Delaware's turned into a pretty good team. Kennesaw as well. So, I think it's still out there in front for UTEP. You just got to go win this one. The biggest thing I've noticed from the fan base is some Skylar Locklear talk.
Oh, they want to press the Skylar Locklear button.
And so I just wonder how many interceptions it would take to get there, because it does feel like eventually even if Malachi offers you more upside with his arm and his just this throwing ability, if you're constantly turning the football over for a team that is more defensive led, like eventually the upside is negated. And I wonder how far this thing goes before Walden tries to go safer and just kind of keep it in front of him with a Locklear type.
And the defense has been good.
Yeah,
He's doing a great job for sure. DC with a new scheme. So.
Yep. And turning the ball over and allowing pick sixes, that just kills it. Like you're not scoring enough points to have that on the back end. Right. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to be a low scoring offense anyway, go with the quarterback who isn't costing you points on the other side.
All right, let's go to Texas State now. Texas State versus Troy is 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Texas State favored by 9.5. I did see an interesting stat on Twitter X from Bobcat Nation at State by 90. GJ Kinney at Texas State is 0-3 coming off bye weeks. I know it's a little bit more recap from last week, but again, just another marker of what we talked about. GJ Kinney in October, it's an issue. Hopefully that does not persist for them versus Troy.
Yeah, I mean, they've been, mostly a 500 team in the Sun Belt, but a lot of those woes have been on the road. They've been pretty good at home, and they've been pretty good after losses, after setbacks. And so I imagine this is a get-right game for Texas State. Troy, not very good, not your older brother's Troy. Summerall is at Tulane, and so this has not been the same team since he's left there as the head coach. I think this is a big game for Lincoln Perry and the run game. The defense, I think, takes a step forward and looks better than they did last week against Arkansas State because Troy doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, Arkansas State's got a pretty solid quarterback, and he could go make some plays. I don't think Troy has that. I think the Bobcats big here.
Who is Troy's quarterback? Why does it show the basketball scores? All right, whatever. I don't care. Actually, wait, no, I found it. Kilcrease? Tucker Kilcrease. Okay, 416 yards on the year. Yeah, and Brad Jackson's got 1,094. So definitely not throwing it around the yard. Also, but their leading rusher has 400 yards too. So just like the offense in general this is a good chance for Texas State's defense to get a little get right.
Yeah, 100%. They got a big advantage here when Troy has the football, in these games. But Texas State's also lost games that they shouldn't. I mean, they lost games that they shouldn't last week. So, you can't take this stuff for granted. It does feel like a solid matchup at home for the Bobcats, though.
Okay, last game on the docket. Sam Houston hosts Jacksonville State. Thursday, October 9th on CBS Sports Network. Jacksonville State is favored by 7.5. Being 7.5 home dogs is tough. It's just indicative of where we're at right now.
Yeah, and if I was a gambling man, I would take the Jackson State and minus 7.5. Right? I mean, like Sam Houston's lost every single game by at least 17. They were a road favorite against New Mexico State and lost by 27. So I'm going to have to see it from the Bearcats before I believe it. A winless season is on the table.
Yep. Now it's about preventing the winless stat. So there you have it. That's week 7 preview. Exciting week with Texas and North Texas having program-defining games and opportunities, and then a couple other big-time matchups sprinkled in there too. Craven, any last thoughts before we get on out of here to week 7?
No, huge week. After this weekend, every FBS team in the state of Texas is at least at 6 games played. Right?
Wow.
So we are at the halfway point of the regular season after this weekend. As Carter said off the top, we have a game Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, multiple games on Saturday. Should be a good one, and we'll know a lot more when we do the recap on Sunday about the state and who the contenders are, who the pretenders are. It feels like a week where we really start to kind of separate some of those teams we have kind of some question marks on.
It's just crazy how fast the time flies, in the football season. It is such a roller coaster. It's so much fun, but it also feels like 45 seconds. That's why you got to stop and smell the Sam Houston, Jacksonville State games. You have to cherish everything.
You do.
This season.
It's a great point.
All right, y'all. That'll do it for this week's preview episode. We'll see you on Monday morning to recap a pivotal week 7.